Hello, first grade friends. So today we're going to talk about non-standard measurement. Standard measurement is when you measure things with standard units of measure, like a ruler or a tape measure, and things that are really meant to measure. But non-standard units are kind of when you use things that you just have around to measure different items. So we're going to measure with a couple of different things today. We're going to measure with bears, we're going to measure with paper clips, and we're going to measure with cubes. So let me show you how that would work. So we're going to use bears to measure how tall this lemon tree is. So I've got a bunch of bears here and I'm going to use it to measure. Now, there's a line here that tells me this is where the tree starts. This is where the tree stops. See, because it lines up with this right here. That's the tallest part of the tree. So I'm going to use those and I'm going to line up my bears. So I'm going to make sure that my bears, there's a couple things we really have to make sure of when we're doing non-standard units of measurement like this. So you can measure with lots and lots of different things, toothpicks or pennies or paper clips or bears or any sort of thing that you have a lot of. But when you do it, look what I'm doing here, boys and girls. I'm making sure that each bear is touching, right? There's not space in between. So let's see what we got here. Let me do a couple more, maybe one there. And I bet you it's one more right there. It's just a little bit. There we go. So if I have to measure how many bears that is, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this tree is 7 bears tall. This tree is 7 bears tall. So now we're going to move to the next slide. This time I'm going to use cubes. And I'm going to show you a couple of mistakes that kids make when they're measuring with non-standard measurements. So they're using different objects to measure. I'm going to show you a couple of mistakes that people make. So one thing that they'll do is they'll start at the right spots, right? Because I have a line. We're measuring the palm tree. So I'm going to measure where it starts and I'm going to measure where it ends. But when they do it, they leave gaps in between. So they'll do something like this and then say, oh, it takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cubes to get to the top of that palm tree, excuse me. But that's not really true, friends, because I didn't line them up, right? I need to line them up to make sure that there's no gaps in between. When I did my bears, there were no gaps or empty spaces in between. And you need to make sure that when you're measuring anything, there's not spaces in between. So I'm going to stack up my cubes. So that was 5. Let's see how many it really is when I actually put them in the right space. Let's see how many it is. So far, the other thing that I'm doing, boys and girls, is I'm putting my objects in a straight line. I'm not like making a zigzag line, like one over here and then one over here and then one over there, right? Because when you do that, you're not going to get the right number because you're not putting them in a straight line. You're not quite lining them up correctly. So again, you want to make sure that they're touching just like this. One thing you don't want, though, friends, is to make them overlap. So I can't put my cube right here. See, that's overlapping because it's covering up half of the other cube. You want to make it so they're touching, but that they're not covering up the other one. So see, when I do these with my cubes, they're touching each other, but they're not overlapping. Overlapping, let me put some over here that are overlapping just to show you what that means. Overlapping is when they're on top of each other like that. See, they're on top of each other, and that's not what you're looking for when you're doing non-standard measurement. You want them touching, but not overlapping. So you want them more like this. So I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It took 8 cubes to get to the top of the pine tree. Pine tree, I keep saying that, get to the top of the palm tree. All right, friends, let's go to the next one. So now we're going to use paper clips, and we're going to see how long this pen is in paper clips. So this one doesn't have the lines like our other two did. It doesn't have that. So when I bring my paper clip over, I need to make sure it's starting in the same place as that pen. Okay, so I want to make sure I don't want to stick it way out here because then it's not starting in the same place as the pen. And I don't want to start it way back here because then, again, that pen starts right here So that's where my paper clip should be, right there. And again, when we do the next one, we don't want them overlapping. This is overlapping, right? I want it touching, but not overlapping. So I want it to be like that. That's where they're touching, but they're not overlapping. So the same thing for this one. Again, you don't want to make a gap in there. Like that's not what you're looking for either. You're looking for them to be touching, but not overlapping. So let me get the next one. Ooh, that looks pretty good, friends, because it starts right where my pen starts. It finishes right at the end. So this is 4 paper clips long. That pencil is 4 paper clips long. So now I'm going to look at this glue, and I want to know, is this glue bottle longer than that pen was? Well, it's hard for me to tell because I can't see them next to each other. The pen is on this slide, and my glue bottle is on this slide. So it's hard for me to kind of tell which one is longer. But one thing that I can do is I've measured this in paper clips. Well, now I'm going to measure those are paper clips. Now I can measure this in paper clips. I can see those are the wrong ones. So give me just a second here, friends. So I can get that kind of a paper clip here. And I'm just going to get a bunch of these. I didn't realize these were those blue ones are a different size, and I want to use the same size. So I'm just going to get a couple more of those. Okay, so now I'm going to use these paper clips. Now remember, my glue bottle is this way, right? My pen was facing the other way, so that's the way my paper clips needed to be. But look at how my glue bottle is, right? It's going up and down, so I need to make sure that my paper clips are also going up and down. So I'm going to turn that guy around here. There we go. I'm going to turn them around, and I need to make sure that it's starting at the same spot that my glue bottle is starting. Just like I had to do that with the pen, right? I needed to make sure they started in the same spot. I need to do that with the glue too. So I need to make sure it's starting in the same place. Let me bring out another paper clip. I got to turn that guy around here. Okay, so here's another one. And remember, I want it touching, but not overlapping, right? I don't want it way down here because I don't want them overlapping. I don't want it way up here because I don't want that gap in between. I want to make sure they're touching, but not overlapping. Let's get another one here. Let's see what I get here. So I'm going to put it right there. All right, boys and girls. So this glue bottle is about 1, 2, 3 paper clips tall. So is this longer than the pen? Well, the pen was 4 paper clips and the glue bottle was 3 paper clips. So it's easy for me to tell that the pen was longer than the glue bottle. Even though I can't put the pen and the glue bottle next to each other to see which one is longer, I can tell because I measured them with the same thing. I measured the pen with red paper clips, and then I measured the glue bottle with red paper clips. And I know the pen took 4 red paper clips and the glue bottle only took 3. So it's easy for me to now say that pen is longer than the glue bottle. Even though I can't put them right next to each other, I can tell. And my last one, friends, just to kind of review, I'm going to measure this paint. This time I'm going to use these blue paper clips. I'm going to measure this paint jar. So again, I need to start at the bottom and make sure that my paper clips are touching, right? I've got them lined up, but they're not overlapped. Ooh, this one is 3 too, just like the one we just did. Except for that one we measured with red paper clips, and this one we're measuring with blue, and I think the blue ones are a little bit shorter. But this one is 3 paper clips tall. So remember, friends, when you were doing non-standard units of measurement, you can measure with anything. Like I said, in this one, we measured with paper clips, we measured with cubes, we measured with bears. You can measure with pennies, like erasers, all sorts of things, as long as they're all the same. But the thing that you need to remember when you're measuring is to start your items in the same place and to make sure when you stack your item that there's no gap in between, but that they're also not overlapped. They're touching but not overlapped. And then you can use that to see how tall your item is.